I have questions and comments. Thank you. Mark, if I've listened to this scenario over the last several years correctly, you know, in general, pay-as-you-go is a pretty good plan, but it's gotten to a point where some of the times pay-as-you-go doesn't work. And we're at a time frame in history, whereas if we tried to pay for this project as we went, we would have to defer lots of other projects. Am I correct?
You're absolutely correct, Councilman. If we tried to, if you didn't want to issue this debt, you would have to issue some form of debt because there is not cash available to make the payments that we're contractually obligated to make right now. But if you wanted to keep it as short as possible, other projects would have to be deferred, would have to be put off. And again, it's an excellent opportunity to issue bonds just because of where the interest rates are, so it's a good idea.
And if I've seen anything in the last several years, sometimes deferring some of these road projects actually incurs greater costs because of the deterioration. So here again, by investing in this bonding program for this project, we're also investing in the maintenance capability in the other projects that we also have online to be done in the city. That's sort of the way I view this. So that's where I'm at.
Where would the repayment of this debt service come from?
It will come from the 1% streets and open space fund, and then the 3/4 streets fund.
Yeah, these would be 20-year bonds.
That's what we're anticipating. 20-year bonds exceeds the life of the interchange exceeds that 20-year. So you don't want to, of course, issue debt on something that won't last that long. But 20 years is good.
Okay, Mr. Blair.
Thank you, Mayor. Maybe I didn't quite understand. I understand the background of the project and the lawsuits associated with the project. But before we let contract out to the project, why didn't we have a funding mechanism in place in a direction before we let the contract? In other words, I'm not going to go out and buy a house unless I know I have funding.
Well, and we did have a funding plan in place, which was to issue debt. And as I talked about the requirements of the IRS and arbitrage, the actual issuance of the debt we try to put off until the project actually is underway, so that we will fall within the arbitrage exemption guidelines the IRS offers. If we would have waited, that money would have been sitting in a bank account earning 1% or whatever you earn now, while we're paying 4%, as opposed to waiting until we actually owe the money and the money is utilized at that time.
I appreciate that. And I have one last follow-up question. When you start talking about bond ratings, what is our bond rating now with Moody's in those areas, and does this affect it by us going out on this bond?
Well, and that's an excellent question. As you know, the municipal insurance market on bonds fell apart a year and a half ago with some issues with the whole housing market, and that was one of the reasons for the BABS program. The city of Prescott worked diligently to get our bond rating up to AA. We were AA on our previous bonds. I got notice just before I came to this meeting. This bond currently is in the rating process, so I don't have ratings from the agencies yet. I do have one rating that I just got from Fitch, and they are upholding our AA rating, so this bond will be AA, which is allowing us, and one more graph, because you know accountants love graphs.
You weren't going to show us this, were you?
Well, I try to keep it as brief as you guys want. This is just to show, it's totally clear. That didn't even know any help. What this is, and this is a graph that you've seen before, I believe I've shown this and Sean's shown this. This is showing the spread. There's a market, there's an index out there, a AAA municipal bond index, and that's what AAA municipal bonds go at. This is the basis points, or the interest rate over that you pay higher than that AAA rating if you're AA, or if you're single A, or if you're insured. As you can see, the single A is quite high. You're looking at another 0.5 percentage point higher. But because we've been able to stay in the AA, and like I say, Fitch has upheld that, and I'm hoping that the other two agencies well, we're down in this AA spread, which only raises us above a AAA rating by about 10 basis points, or 0.1% in our premium, or not premium, but in our interest. So that allows us to get into the market even though the insurance is really not around anymore.
Thank you for the comment, I appreciate it.
Horseback gas, interest rate.
If I could guess interest rates, would I be here? We would hope to get you an extremely competitive interest rate. We would definitely expect it to be below 5%, but I wouldn't want to get any closer.
Thank you. Tammy Lee?
Mark, can you tell me, there's a little hesitancy in your voice. One of the liabilities you talked about was the BABS program not moving forward. I mean, I hate when I hear a little hesitancy and we might lose some valuable tax dollars, or dollars of our citizens.
Well, and again, I mean, the BABS program was a great idea. It's one of those really good ideas because it opened up our financing ability to a very large market. So it really gave us the ability to sell bonds when a lot of municipalities couldn't sell bonds once the insurance companies all went bankrupt. So it was a great idea, which is not necessarily surprising coming out of Washington, I guess. And it is in place. People are using it. City of Phoenix is using it. A lot of big cities are using it. But you have a very long commitment. You're talking 20 years that they have to continue to send you that check. So, that is a concern. It is a pause.
Well, one of the reasons why I asked that, exactly what you're saying that BABS is doing is what the housing market started about 10 years ago. And you see what happened when they consolidated all the A, B, C loans together and sold it on the market. That's one of the reasons why it collapsed. So I'm just real cautious when it comes to putting bulk lending and bonding things together, especially when involved in the government.
Well, you're absolutely right. That really didn't help the housing market. This is really opening up that taxable market. A AA corporate debt, and I apologize, I don't have all the numbers off the top of my head, but we'll pretend. A taxable corporate debt has a default rate of about 5%. A AA corporate taxable debt has a default rate of about 5% of them will not pay off. AA municipal rate is less than 1% chance that won't pay off. So that market is really interested in our product. So it is, like I say, a great idea to get people who are willing to take a little bit less in yield for that security that they don't have in the current market that they deal in. So it does open it up, and it does offer the potential of us to save the citizens a lot of money, and I'm not sure we can pass it up if it is enough money.
Thank you.
And the worst that could happen if they do not, if it dies 5-10 years from now, is we would refund these bonds with the tax exempt issue at that time.